The fire, and that's Cristobal right there in the Gulf of Mexico. We've seen this storm now for well over a week, kind of churning and rolling up into the bottom of the lower 48 states. And boy, not a whole lot of wind here to deal with, but a couple of things that are happening, which is interesting. We'll go ahead and watch the path real quick as it runs more or less north, northwest, maybe slightly, and then it turns a little more to the northeast over its run. And again, wind, not really the big issue here, but rain is definitely, and there's really some interesting things going on. Big areas of high pressure to the north and then to the south are sort of stretching out the storm system. So what that translates into is that it's not going to have a lot of westward projection, but boy, look how big it is to the east. And again, a lot of rain. So flooding will be a concern for much of the Gulf states, all the way out to almost all of Cuba, and of course Florida, all the way out to Bermuda. And that is all of Cristobal's energy, which is really amazing. Now for us, a lot of 60s out there. Look at Santa Barbara though, getting that offshore effect right now. And boy, a couple of things that'll happen with that. Obviously with the wind, here it is right here. Look at the humidity value, or the gusts, which are pretty strong, still out in the western edge of the channel, back up toward Point Conception. And of course, getting into the channel pretty solidly, and that will be the story. But look at your humidity values dropping a lot, tremendous from what they were yesterday, a big drop. And that's where you start getting the fire, the critical fire dangers. So the reason, well, this time of year we do get storm systems, but they typically roll over the top of us, and that's why we get that strong northerly flow. And that's exactly what we're seeing. A lot of much needed moisture to our north, but all we end up getting out of it is a lot of energy coming straight down. So we get the sun, we get the wind, and we get the warmth. So that's basically our overall current setup right there, and that's what's going to happen over the next couple of days. So here again, minus all the colors which I showed you at the beginning of the show, wind warning issues, wind advisory for the Central Coast, warning for Santa Barbara and portions of Ventura. Then we look at the red flag conditions, and those are fairly widespread because we are at that time of year where we do get quite a bit of energy from the north, and then eventually we'll start getting Santa Ana's as well. And look at that, the heat advisory for early Monday and Tuesday. And of course the hills are drying out. So boy, watch this, all the moisture in the atmosphere just getting knocked out of the game. Fog becomes almost a lost cause here as well, at least through Tuesday, Wednesday. Maybe it'll start to come back once we get to the latter half of the work week. And tomorrow we'll go ahead and stop it early in the morning, and there's the Santa Ana making it to Ventura, but watch how fast it backs away. So the good news is if you don't like the heat, we'll probably get a quick return of the sea breeze, so that's good news. All right, excuse me, for your Monday forecast, look how warm it is, and then we click forward 24 hours, and it really pops up into those 70s, 80s, and maybe even a few 90s start to knock on the door. So again, we are looking for a little heat wave here, pretty much across the board, focused on a few areas, even right to the beaches. There are your highs tomorrow, back into the 80s for a lot of areas of the Santa Barbara South Coast. Same story as you go farther north, but probably a little bit more of a sea breeze will kick into gear for the Central Coast. So therefore your beaches, look at that, Morro Bay, not that bad at 68, actually really nice. Pismo 73. And then in Ventura County, that's where it gets interesting, because if the Santa Ana does indeed make it to the sand, it stays pretty warm right up to the beaches, but it should, according to our FUTURECAST, not be overly a long event. So that's good news. Surf is going to come up again. We have south swell and some wind swell out of the northwest. So it looks like the beaches will be busy the next several days. And a quick look at our Santa Barbara forecast. There it is. We're staying warm through much of next week until the last part of the work week. And then as soon as we get to the weekend, we start to see a return of normality, as in the form of more sea breeze, a little more ocean air. So look at the change from Thursday to Friday. It'd be very noticeable for just about all areas again. And Ventura, same story there. You'll start to drop probably more toward Wednesday to Thursday. Again, that's just the return of normal sea breeze, the onshore flow kicking in across the region. So Santa Maria and as well Lompoc, look at that. Boy, it's going to be very, very warm. As you can see right there, 70s and 80s, and then we start to come back down by Thursday.